I thought my graduation dinner would be ordinary, just a few snapshots, a modest restaurant downtown, and my parents pretending everything was normal. But 10 seconds after we sat down, the evening shattered. Grandpa, the one person who had ever truly believed in me, raised his glass and asked Lisa, "Are you using the $850,000 I set aside for your schooling?" My aunt's fork clattered to the table. My parents froze. And me? I felt the ground shift beneath me. I had no idea such a fund even existed. Before I tell you what happened next, I have to ask, where are you watching from? And if someone quietly stole your future, what would you have done? From childhood, I knew our family only looked normal from the outside. Inside, it was fractured. My sister Megan was the golden child, the one my parents genuinely believed would succeed. Me? I was never told I wouldn't succeed, but I was never told I would either. In our home, silence spoke louder than praise. By middle school, the pattern was unmistakable. Megan received opportunities, I received duties. She struggled in math, they hired a tutor. I struggled, and they called it character building. She got a used car at 16, I got a planner and a lecture on independence. At the time, I didn't feel anger, just confusion and a twinge of shame for needing help. College widened the gap. I worked at a campus cafe, juggling tables, classes, and student loans. My clothes smelled faintly of espresso, my sleep schedule existed only in the cracks between shifts and homework. Whenever I hinted at needing help, books, rent, anything, Mom would sigh, "Lisa, you know how tight things are." Dad nodded, as if agreeing with some invisible law. Their standard line, "We wish we could do more." But somehow, the budget always stretched for Megan. Apartment deposits, car repairs, even support for a business venture she abandoned midway, she never lacked. Questioning this imbalance left me feeling petty, ungrateful. I told myself I was strong enough to manage alone. I believed it, until the night everything came apart. There were subtle signs beforehand, moments I didn't understand. Like the afternoon I spotted an envelope in the garage with Grandpa's name on it, buried under holiday decorations. Before I could inspect it, Mom swooped in, snatched it, and said, "Old paperwork. Don't worry." She locked it in a drawer, smiling too tightly. Something inside me whispered it wasn't true, but I shoved the thought aside, as usual. Grandpa, Dad's father, lived in another city. Gentle, thoughtful, never spoke just to fill silence. Every card he sent me said, "Keep going. I believe in you." I didn't know he had quietly been planning for me, trusting my parents to safeguard my future. The night of my graduation dinner, I didn't understand Dad's constant glances toward the door, like he expected someone, or something, to appear. I had no idea my life was about to fracture. In the weeks leading up, I noticed subtle shifts. Mom's casual glances at me carried tension. Dad grew unusually talkative, questioning me about work, rent, classes, as if compiling notes. I assumed it was pride, or midlife nerves. I thought maybe they were softened by the idea of my graduation. Then Megan arrived one Sunday in a brand new SUV. When I asked how she could afford it, she laughed, citing a business investment payoff. Mom quickly diverted attention, complimenting nails, shoes, anything but my question. I let it go, but unease simmered. Days later, at my parents' house returning a mixing bowl, I saw a bin tucked behind camping gear. On top, an envelope labeled with Grandpa's name. I reached for it. Before I could open it, Mom appeared faster than I'd ever seen, snatched it, and muttered it was misplaced paperwork before hiding it. Her voice trembled slightly. That moment twisted something inside me. That night, studying for finals felt impossible. I kept replaying the garage, Mom's panicked face. Why hide Grandpa's paperwork from me? What were they concealing? The breaking point came the night before graduation. I overheard my parents arguing in the kitchen. My dad said, low but firm, "We can't keep this quiet forever." Mom replied, sharp, "She doesn't need to know." Megan needs stability. My stomach sank. Who was she? What truth was being withheld? And why did Megan's security always cost me something? I lay awake, heart hammering, staring at the ceiling, unaware that my life as I knew it was about to change forever. I couldn't stop thinking about the envelopes, the unexplained charges, the furtive glances my parents kept throwing my way. I replayed every time I'd asked for help and been told there was nothing available. For the first time, it hit me, maybe the problem wasn't what they couldn't give me, it was what they refused to. By dawn, I felt hollow yet clear-headed. Something was off, and my parents were desperate to contain it. I told myself I'd stop pressing questions, at least until after graduation. I needed one quiet day, a single moment where I wasn't balancing gratitude and abandonment. But serenity wasn't waiting for me. Something else was. Graduation morning arrived with an unshakable weight. Mom knocked early, her voice too bright, as if sunlight had been forced through a closed curtain. Dad lingered behind her, pretending to scroll, though the screen was dark. Their tension seeped into the hallway like fog. I tried to focus on the day ahead, but my instincts screamed, something was coming. At campus, Megan was unusually chipper, insisting on photos. She draped her arm over my shoulder and whispered, "Big day for you, sis." Sweet words, but off, rehearsed, like a private performance. Mom immediately hovered, adjusting her hair, complimenting Megan's outfit, steering the attention away from me. My chest tightened, but I pushed it down. I wanted this day to be about me, not comparisons. After the ceremony, my parents ushered us to the restaurant. Dad kept glancing at the door. Mom smoothed her blouse compulsively. Megan's fingers were glued to her phone, as if waiting for a message. I assumed impatience or hunger, but the truth was darker. They weren't rushing for me, they were racing against someone else showing up. Inside the restaurant, the reason became clear. Grandpa sat near the back, smiling at me. I hadn't expected him, didn't even know he knew the reservation. Mom's face tensed. Megan froze. Dad forced a nervous laugh. The air shifted, and I felt it in my bones. Grandpa hugged me and said he was proud. His warmth steadied me, but the tension around us was unmistakable. Mom kept fidgeting with her napkin. Megan whispered to Dad. He shook his head sharply. My instincts told me, whatever they were hiding involved Grandpa, and it was about to surface. Over appetizers, Grandpa asked gentle questions about school and work. I answered, savoring a rare moment of normalcy. But when he mentioned student loans, Mom's fork froze midair. Megan's eyes widened. Dad cleared his throat. The room constricted. Grandpa's expression subtly shifted, and inside me, something snapped quietly, like a bridge losing a single key support. Money. Secrets. I realized my family had been hiding something. And for the first time, I wouldn't swallow the confusion alone. Instead of shrinking back, I observed. Every flash of panic in Mom's face, every strained smile from Dad, every restless twitch from Megan's fingers, I catalogued them silently. I held my questions in check. The old me, who accepted nonsense explanations, was gone. A sharper, steadier version had emerged, ready to confront whatever truth they were desperate to conceal. When the main course arrived, the table felt electric, not celebratory. Mom barely touched her food. Dad repeatedly wiped his glasses. Megan scrolled, pretending boredom, but kept sneaking glances at Grandpa. The tension was thick, as if everyone except me knew the storm was coming. Grandpa ate slowly, eyes flicking between my parents with calm precision. He asked more soft questions about work, my plans, and the apartment I'd been trying to afford alone. I answered, throat tight, expecting interruption, but no one spoke. They were bracing. Finally, Grandpa straightened, lifted his glass like a toast, and looked at me, not at my parents, not at Megan. His smile was warm, but his eyes were sharp. "Lisa," he said softly, "I've been meaning to ask you something important." My chest tightened. Even Mom's breathing seemed to halt. Grandpa paused mid-toast, then asked the question that would cleave my life into before and after: "Are you using the $850,000 I set aside for your education?" The silence was instant, suffocating. For a heartbeat, I couldn't move. Then a metallic crash, the sound of my aunt dropping her fork. Heads turned. Dad's smile froze. Mom's face drained. Megan's phone slipped. I swallowed. What fun. My voice startled me. It was distant, hollow, like it belonged to someone else. Grandpa's brows knitted in confusion, then a shadow of hurt. He set down his glass, waiting. "I don't know about it," he murmured, almost a whisper, turning his gaze slowly toward my parents. "You didn't tell her," he said. Mom shook her head violently, as if denying the very idea. "Dad," she stammered, "we told her ages ago." "You didn't," I said softly. "You never said a word." Grandpa's warm expression hardened into something sharp, focused. "Interesting," he said, his voice dropping lower. "Because the bank says someone's been using it." The words hit the table like lightning. Dad choked on his water. Mom's fingers shook so hard her napkin fell. Megan froze, phone dimming in her hand. My heart pounded in my ears. Grandpa leaned forward. "The fund has been accessed for months. Large withdrawals, regularly. And none of it came from you." Dad tried to speak. "Dad, I think you're misunderstanding." "No," Grandpa snapped, the restaurant falling into another hush. His voice was low, measured, and furious. "I've checked. Twice. Called the bank. Verified it myself. The money was never authorized by my granddaughter." Mom pressed her hand to her mouth. Grandpa's gaze shifted to me, jaw tight. "Lisa, did you ever give your parents permission to use it? Did you sign anything?" "No," I whispered. "Never." Megan shuffled nervously. "Grandpa, maybe the bank made a mistake. You know how they are." Grandpa's look silenced her instantly. He turned back to my parents, eyes burning. "Tell me the truth, now." It wasn't a question. It was a command. Dad slumped. Mom squeezed her eyes shut. Megan waited, knowing someone else would handle the fallout. Finally, Dad spoke, voice shaking. We had no choice. We needed help." "And Megan?" Megan snapped. "Dad?" "No. You have to tell him," Dad said, desperate. Grandpa's face tightened. "Tell me what?" Mom broke first, tears spilling freely. We thought Lisa didn't need it. She always managed." Megan was struggling. "She needed support, and you weren't around to see it." "I wasn't around," Grandpa said quietly, "because I trusted you. I trusted you to protect what belonged to her." Megan slammed her hand on the table. "It's still family money. We used it for family things." I swallowed, stomach twisting. "What things?" Dad finally admitted it: down payment on Megan's condo, her car, some business expenses, groceries, bills, emergencies. "Emergencies?" I repeated. "You mean spa days, shopping trips, furniture?" Mom cried harder, not from remorse but from exposure. Grandpa's voice trembled with restrained anger. "You stole from your own daughter. You stole from me. And you lied." Megan tried again. "Grandpa, stop. I'm your granddaughter too. Don't treat me like I don't matter." "You matter," he said coldly, "but not more than your sister, not at the cost of her future." Dad reached toward him. "We plan to pay it back eventually. We just—" "No," Grandpa cut him off. "You plan to hide it forever." He stood suddenly, chair scraping loudly. The restaurant watched in silence. Mom whispered, "Please don't do anything rash." Grandpa turned to me. "Lisa, you're coming with me tomorrow." We'll go to the bank, then see my attorney. Mom gasped. No, Dad, please. He pointed at her, voice firm. You had years to consider the consequences. Now you face them. Dad sank, defeated. Megan's panic was obvious. This isn't fair. I needed that help. Why can't she just work like always? I didn't scream. I didn't break down. I felt cold clarity settle inside me, a place that understood betrayal. Grandpa laid a steady hand on my shoulder. You deserved this future. They stole it from you. But I will fix it. For the first time, I didn't shrink. I looked each of them in the eye. I won't let you take anything else from me. He squeezed my shoulder. You won't have to. Under the soft glow of the restaurant lights, the family facade shattered. The next morning, I met Grandpa outside the bank. Tired, older somehow, but resolute. The bank confirmed it, withdrawals traced to my parents. Grandpa froze the accounts, requested statements, and scheduled a meeting with his attorney. No yelling, no threats, just firm, deliberate action. At the attorney's office, the full picture emerged. Nearly all the funds had been drained, spent on Megan's condo, car, and unrelated expenses. Legal steps were laid out, restitution and a new fund under my name alone, with strict oversight. That evening, Grandpa sat with me in my apartment. He apologized, not for their choices, but for trusting the wrong people. I told him he owed me nothing. The betrayal wasn't his. For the first time in years, the ground felt steady beneath me, not because everything was fixed, but because the truth was finally mine. In the weeks that followed, my parents called, apologized, rewrote the story in endless variations. I didn't argue. I stepped back, letting distance and the truth do the work. Grandpa's fund gave me security, but his honesty gave me something bigger, permission to protect myself. If any part of this story resonates, tell me where you're watching from. And when you hear this, what would you have done in my place?